How's your heart today? Tonight's letters are for anyone who grew up thinking love had to sound obvious to count. Some fathers never learned how to say very much, but they spent years speaking in smaller ways. Fixing a loose hinge, waiting up by the door, asking if you ate yet instead of asking how your heart was. Sometimes we only understand that language later, when we are older and finally looking back with better eyes. This episode is about that kind of love, the kind that lived in routine, protection, and restraint. And if you have ever wished someone had said more, I hope these letters help you notice what may have been said all along. Letter 1. The first time I realized my father loved me, I was old enough to be embarrassed by him. I was 14, standing outside the school gate in the rain with a dead phone and no real plan. Everyone else seemed to leave under umbrellas that had appeared at exactly the right time. Then I saw my father's motorbike pulling up through the rain. He wore that faded dark jacket he always used for bad weather. He didn't wave. He just stopped in front of me, lifted the spare helmet, and said, "Get on before you get soaked." On the ride home he asked only practical things. Did you bring your math book? You ate already? Your shoes are slippery. Walk carefully. Not once did he say, I was worried. Back then, I thought that meant he wasn't emotional enough. My friends had fathers who posted proud captions and hugged loudly in public. My father mostly fixed things. He paid bills early. He noticed strange noises in the house. He reminded me to leave 10 minutes sooner than necessary. It all felt so ordinary that I missed what it was made of. Years later, when I moved out for university, he helped carry my boxes into a tiny apartment with bad lighting and a window that wouldn't close all the way. My mother arranged the kitchen shelves within minutes. I was close to tears but trying not to show it. My father tested the door lock twice, looked at the bathroom faucet, checked the window frame, and said, "This place needs a better curtain. People can see in too easily at night." I wanted some moving day speech, something emotional and memorable. Instead, I got a comment about curtains. That evening, after they left, I found a small flashlight in my desk drawer, pain reliever in the kitchen cabinet, and an envelope with cash tucked into a cookbook. He had hidden them there without saying a word. That became his pattern. He would visit and notice what needed doing before he sat down. A chair leg that wobbled. A kitchen knife that had gone dull. A sink that drained too slowly. Once, when my water heater broke in winter, he arrived before I had even finished explaining the problem. He brought tools, an old towel, and food my mother had packed into containers. He spent 2 hours on the bathroom floor fixing it. When he finished, he washed his hands and asked, "Do you have enough warm blankets?" Still no speech. Still no, "I love you." Just blankets. I used to think that made him distant. Now I think it was the opposite. He paid such close attention to the details of my life that he could see what would hurt me before I said it out loud. The moment that finally opened my eyes happened last year. I had gone home for a weekend, because work had been exhausting in that quiet adult way. Too many emails, too little sleep, too much pretending I was handling everything well. I came into the kitchen late at night for water, and found him at the table, repairing the loose handle on one of my mother's pots. He looked up and said, "You've been rubbing your shoulders since dinner." I stopped. Then, with the same calm voice he used for everything, he said, "Your body tells the truth before your mouth does." He reached into the cabinet, handed me a heating patch, and said, "Put this on before you sleep, and stop using your laptop in bed." I wanted, suddenly and painfully, to cry, because I realized how many years he had been loving me exactly like this. By observing, by preparing, by preventing discomfort where he could, by making sure I got home dry, slept warm, locked my door, ate enough, and didn't ignore pain until it got worse. Now when he sends me messages, they are still practical. Rain in your area tonight. Drive slower, holiday traffic. Eat before your meeting. If someone else read them, they might think he is just a man who likes reminders. But I know better now. I know that, "Did you eat?" can mean I have been thinking about you since noon. I know that text "when you get home" can mean, "My mind won't settle until I know you're safe." I know that "take a jacket" can mean I still wish I could shield you from small discomforts. I spent years wanting a father who sounded softer. What I had all along was a father who never stopped showing up in verbs. Host transition. Sometimes, love is not hidden. Sometimes, it is simply written in a language we learn too late. Letter 2. I used to think my boyfriend was cold because he never knew the right thing to say. Then I realized he cared for me in the same quiet way my father always had. When we first started dating, I described him to my friends as kind but hard to read. Reliable, but not expressive. Good in a crisis, not great in conversations. If I was upset, he would offer solutions before I had even finished talking. It drove me crazy. One night I had a terrible day at work. Nothing dramatic, just humiliating in an ordinary office way. I went to his apartment hoping to be comforted. I wanted perfect questions and maybe a long quiet hug. Instead, he opened the door, took one look at my face, and said, "Sit down, I'll heat up food." I almost felt offended. While he moved around the kitchen, I sat there building a case against him in my mind. He should have asked what happened first. He should have reached for me. He should have sounded more like the version of care I knew how to recognize. Then he put a warm bowl in front of me and said, "Eat before you tell me. Everything feels worse when your blood sugar drops." And in that second, I was 10 years old again, watching my father remove fish bones from my plate before setting it back in front of me. After that, I started noticing things I had dismissed. My boyfriend always walked on the outer side of the sidewalk without making a point of it. When I stayed over, he plugged in my phone if I forgot. If I had an early morning, he set the kettle timer the night before. If my voice sounded wrong, he did not force a conversation immediately. He made the room easier to exist in first. The more serious our relationship became, the more his care started to feel familiar. Not identical to my father, but shaped by the same instinct. Quiet, practical, deeply attentive underneath. One Sunday we visited my parents for lunch. My father was, as usual, already fixing something before noon. My boyfriend stood beside him holding the tin of screws while my mother and I prepared vegetables. They barely spoke beyond what was needed. "Try the shorter one." "No, hand me the flathead. That hinge is bent." At one point my father went outside to get another tool, and my mother leaned toward me and said, "Men like that are easy to misunderstand." I looked over at my boyfriend, still crouched by the cabinet door, and felt something in me settle. Because she was right. My father had spent my whole life loving through usefulness, attention, and effort. And here I was, almost missing love again because it did not arrive in the packaging I expected. That doesn't mean words do not matter. They do. I still need to hear things sometimes. He has learned to say more. I have learned to notice more. Love gets healthier when both people stretch a little toward each other. But there was one evening that changed me permanently. I had a fever and insisted it was nothing serious. I told him not to come over because I looked awful and just wanted to sleep. Around 9, I heard a quiet knock. He was standing there holding a grocery bag. Inside it were soup, electrolyte packets, fruit, the exact crackers I liked when I was sick, and a new thermometer because mine had broken months earlier and I had forgotten to replace it. He did not step inside right away. He just held up the bag and said, "You forget supplies when you're not feeling well." I laughed, then unexpectedly started crying. He looked alarmed and asked, "Did I get the wrong thing?" And all I could say was, "No. You got exactly the right thing." What I meant was, I know this language. I was raised inside it. I know what it means when someone quietly learns your needs and meets them before you have to become louder. Some of the safest love I have known has always sounded more like this. "Drink this while it's warm. I tightened that for you. Your charger is in my bag. I brought an umbrella. Message me when you land." Maybe we spend too much of life asking whether love was spoken enough, when sometimes the better question is whether it was practiced consistently. Host transition. Being loved well is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is the relief of realizing you have been cared for in a language you already knew. Letter 3. After my father died, the house became unbearably quiet in all the places he used to make small sounds. The front gate no longer clicked open at 6:30. No tools shifted in the cabinet on Saturday mornings. No chair scraped across the kitchen floor before sunrise, because he was always the first one awake. What hurt me most were the tiny practical silences. A light bulb in the hallway burned out and stayed that way for days. The rice container ran low, and nobody refilled it without being asked. The batteries in the wall clock died, and for weeks the clock stayed on the wrong time, as if the house itself had lost its habit of being quietly corrected. My father was not a sentimental man. At the funeral, people said he was dependable, generous, and always ready to help. One man from down the street cried while telling me my father had repaired his scooter twice and never accepted money. I listened and thought, yes, that sounds like him. Then I went home and stared at his shoes by the door, and felt angry that goodness could feel so ordinary while it was happening, and so enormous after it stopped. For months, I kept waiting for a memory that would explain everything neatly. A big speech, maybe. Some emotional conversation I had forgotten. A final moment that would let me say, there, that was the shape of our love. But when I looked honestly, the truth was simpler. Our love had mostly lived in maintenance. He woke earlier than everyone else and checked the weather before I left. He cut fruit and left the sweeter pieces where he knew I would take them first. He kept exact change near the door for days when I was in a rush. When I started driving, he checked my tires so often I used to roll my eyes. When I came home late as an adult, the porch light was always on. I did not think of these as emotional memories at the time. I thought of them as background. A year after he passed, my mother asked me to clean the cabinet above the refrigerator. It had always been his territory. It was full of things he considered too useful to throw away. Spare bulbs, receipts, tape, extension cords, batteries sorted by size. Near the back, I found a small plastic folder with my name written on it in his handwriting. Inside were documents I didn't know he had organized for me. Copies of my birth certificate, school papers, insurance numbers, the receipt from the laptop he helped me buy in college, and a note listing renewal dates for things he thought I might forget. At the bottom, in his stiff, careful handwriting, he had written, "Keep these somewhere dry. Check expiry dates every January. Don't wait until the last minute." That was all. No love, Dad. No emotional confession. Just administration. And I sat on the kitchen floor and cried so hard I had to lean against the cabinet door. Because suddenly I understood that this was his version of still trying to take care of me in advance. Even then, even in paperwork, even in the boring parts of life nobody romanticizes, he had arranged the future in whatever small ways he could reach. Since losing him, I've noticed how often I repeat him without meaning to. I tighten jar lids before putting them away. I check the stove twice before leaving. I send practical messages to people I love. Take a sweater. Call me when you're done. There's food in the fridge. I used to worry that this meant I had inherited his emotional limitations. Now I think maybe I inherited his form of devotion. Of course, I still wish he had said certain things more clearly. I wish I had heard, "I'm proud of you," more than once or twice. I wish I had asked him bigger questions while there was still time. Grief always carries a list like that, but it also carries revelation, if you let it. And mine has been this: he did not leave me poetry. He left me evidence. Evidence in repaired drawers and labeled folders. In the porch light. In the full gas tank before long drives. In the way he took responsibility for small discomforts, so I could move through life a little more easily. If I could say one last honest thing to him, it would be this: I'm sorry I learned your language so late, but I speak it now, and I know how loved I was. Post-closing. Maybe some of the deepest love in our lives arrived without perfect wording. Maybe it lived in packed lunches, repaired locks, porch lights, spare cash, and reminders we once thought were just habits. If tonight made you think of a father, or anyone who loved you through steady action more than speech, I hope it brought a little clarity with the ache. Sometimes understanding comes late, but it still counts. And sometimes healing begins the moment we stop asking why they didn't say more, and start noticing how faithfully they stayed in the work of caring. If this episode sat beside your heart tonight, stay a little longer with Mind Light, and share the quiet ways love once found you.